SteamOS is big and everyone praised it because of Steam Deck and how it handles Steam Deck flawlessly and improved the performance of every single game. So as a gaming nerd myself, and my stepdad always telling me that Windows is always the culprit of bottleneck, well, he is not wrong. So I wanted to install SteamOS on my PC to give my RTX 4080 a performance boost. But unfortunately, people say that it can only work with AMD. Either way, I tried it and yeah, it didn't work. As you can see, when I try to boot it from my flash drive, it is stuck here. I cannot do anything, I cannot press anything, so I had to restart my PC. So with a little bit of research, I have gained the knowledge to Bazzite. Now, Bazzite is really similar to SteamOS, even though it is not, and obviously it is also better with AMD GPU than Nvidia. But they also support Nvidia in a way, but of course, there's gonna be some hiccup along the way because the Nvidia driver is not that compatible with Linux. So I downloaded Bazzite with SteamOS lookalike and selected gaming mode. Note they even say one or multiple known issues exist in these builds. Please note that the majority of bugs cannot be fixed except by your GPU manufacturer. There you go, Nvidia, please fix. As you all know, this is my first time ever installing Linux, and to my surprise, the installation process is super easy. But like everyone else, at first,
I was afraid. I was petrified.
yeah, it is quite scary. But all you need to install Bazzite is a USB drive with 10 or more gigabytes, a keyboard, and a brain. Yeah, obviously, don't be dumb, please. And in my case, I am dual booting but on a separate hard drive or SSD. Well, I mean, you can boot on the same drive using separate partition, but it is not recommended, and it is also recommended that you are installing it on an SSD, obviously. Now, this is where the fun begins. Spam that delete or F12 key like your life depends on it. Then, you go to boot and select your USB drive. Usually, it's named after the brand. Mine is SanDisk, and go with partition 1. And don't forget to disable secure boot because it will not install if you enabled secure boot. But after installation, you are free to turn it on again in the BIOS. After that, you will get into this Bazzite installation, pop-up or window. Go pick whatever language you want, click installation destination. If it is still grayed out, just wait a little bit and then select your drive where you want to install it. Click reclaim space, and in the next step, select delete all and you're done. Just click install. And now we are in Bazzite. So let's download some games. Of course, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Well, I know this video is uploaded after Rebirth release. I guess my favorite game is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But at the time of making this video, Rebirth hasn't been released. So, yeah. Well, I actually wanted to try Rebirth in Bazzite, but I think it's too late. So what I noticed is that in gaming mode, after the installation, in gaming mode it is very laggy. But if you go to desktop mode, it will be just fine. And yeah, you can go to desktop mode and you can, browse, you can do this, do that, watch porn or whatever you want to do. And if you have a high refresh rate monitor, you still have to go to the display settings and turn on 240Hz, same as in Windows. Or whatever your monitor's highest refresh rate are, so keep that in mind. Another thing that surprised me here is that you can change the internal resolution on gaming mode. You can go to the Steam settings in gaming mode, you go to display, change the resolution to 4K, and here I have an RTX 4080, but I have a 1080p monitor. Yeah, not good at all. But if you turn that on, you can game in 4K in any game. So that is quite awesome in my opinion. So you don't need a 4K monitor, you don't need to spend like thousands of dollars on an OLED 4K monitor. So that's really cool. After that, I turn on the performance display. So here you just press the PlayStation button and X to bring out this, menu, and then you navigate to the overlay and then you just turn it on. So there are 4 settings here. I chose the third one. I think it's really good. I think that's all you need. Yeah, so after all of that, and we're done. And let's test out some games. Yeah! The first game we're gonna test out is of course Final Fantasy VII Remake. I tested this in 4K, 120 FPS, and it's not bad at all. Actually, it is quite excellent because it doesn't have any stutters, no lag. The frame rate is so smooth, the frame graph is so smooth. Okay, so comparing this to Windows, if you notice, in Windows you have so many issues like stutters, yeah, this and that, you know, blurriness or whatever it is, pop-ins, right? But in here, you don't have that at all. I think it's because in Bazzite, you are using Vulkan, not DirectX 11 or 12. So in Vulkan, it is, I think because it is more compatible with most games and the performance is quite nice. And what's good about this is that it compiles the shader even before the game starts. So it's not in the game, which is always good. And then after compiling the shaders, you will go into the game. And the game has no stutters, no lag, no, you know, all that jumble mess, okay? So that's pretty good. And if you notice, the GPU meter or performance GPU meter overlay is not working. But I know for sure it is not using the CPU because I can hear my GPU fans spinning faster when I turn on the internal resolution to 4K. So yeah, that's pretty good, right? So Bazzite wins here again on the performance side comparing to Windows. The second game that I tried is Spider-Man Remastered. It's not bad, but you cannot turn on ray tracing in this game or it will crash. Probably just from the driver itself that it doesn't support ray tracing in this game. I also tried on desktop mode, but it still crashes when launching the game, so I had to reinstall it. It is quite a shame, but when it works flawlessly. Spider-Man has no problems at all, same as Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played this game in 1440p with the highest settings and there are no stutters or any performance drops. But as you notice, the FPS can dip to like 120, 140 FPS from 180. It's still fine. I didn't notice anything, you know, out of the ordinary, you know, stutters, you know, some jagginess, some lagginess, because as you can see from the frame graph, it is so stable. Nothing is up and down. It's just like, okay, it's going down smoothly and it is going up smoothly. So Bazzite is so much better, man. Like, what the hell? So this is where the fun begins again. I'm testing Final Fantasy 15, and yeah, as you can see, I don't know what's going on. It is just so fucking bright. I cannot see anything. I navigated with my feelings through the options, you know, and tried turning down the brightness of this game, but it still didn't work. It's still so bright. I tried loading the game, you know, loading some save files. Like, wow, it is just so bright, and yeah, I cannot play with this brightness. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's just that Bazzite is not compatible yet, or you know, the driver is not up to date with Final Fantasy 15 on Bazzite. Who knows? So it doesn't work. Maybe some of you guys who may know the issues right here can tell me what's going on. The last but not the least, I tried Cyberpunk. And to my surprise, okay, to my surprise, the gameplay is quite flawless. I played this in 1440p with ultra high settings and with ray tracing. Surprisingly, it is still smooth, even though my FPS is quite bad. I mean, you can get more FPS if you turn off the ray tracing and crank the graphic settings all the way to low or medium. But hey, we are here to test out the maximum power of my GPU on Bazzite. But yeah, it is quite bad in Cyberpunk. But the good thing about this is that even though it is not quite touching 60 FPS, the frame graph is really smooth. It is so stable. You don't need to play this game hardcore, you just need to play the story, right? So I think this is a good thing. I mean, like I said, you can get more FPS if you don't turn on ray tracing or, you know, lower the graphics settings. So this is a pretty good one. Now, I know you all are wondering why am I recording my gameplay in this camera and not on my PC? Well, that's because I tried recording this with Steam Record, but every time I turn that on manually, it crashes the game. Not just one game, but every game that I played in this video. Okay, but there is OBS for Linux. Why don't I use that, right? Well, the problem is OBS only works in desktop mode, and in desktop mode, there's no performance overlay, like in gaming mode. So I mean, you can turn the overlay on Steam, but you cannot get the graphs, you know, so that's quite bad. And obviously, I tried installing any performance overlay, but Bazzite doesn't support it because they say it will mess out the OS or something like that. I don't know for sure because I'm still new at this. I think it's called Mango Overlay or something like that. I don't really know for sure. I kind of forgot what it's called, so I apologize. Well, there's that. Well, I know it sucks, but it is not the end of the world. Well, I had fun testing Bazzite, or you can call this Steam Deck OS, because so many videos calling this Steam Deck OS or SteamOS for PC. But as you all know, SteamOS is trying to perform, or just to be more compatible with PC users for Nvidia or AMD. So that's pretty cool. Even in CES, I think there's some news that SteamOS is trying for Windows. Sorry, not for Windows, for handheld gaming. So many more handheld consoles are gonna use SteamOS. Yeah, that is pretty good. I really wish that Windows can deliver the performance it has, like in Bazzite, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you play it on Windows with DirectX 12, you will have a lot of stutters. You need to change it to DirectX 11, or even use mods that the community provided. It is quite bad. But in Bazzite, using this in Vulkan, man, this shader compilation is before the game even starts. Oh my god. I don't know, man. I am just a sucker for performance, for stable performance, because games these days, man, they are all very unoptimized, AI scaling, DLSS, FSR. So everything in Bazzite is super smooth. I freaking love it. So after I had fun with, Bazzite and whatnot, my conclusion is that Bazzite is really good for gaming. It is excellent. Unfortunately, I have to go back to Windows because Nvidia is still not that compatible with Linux, and everything that I do need Windows because some of them doesn't support Linux. Yeah, but this Bazzite is really good for AMD GPU, and if your focus is on gaming, this is a great OS. Like you just want to turn on your PC and start gaming without any hassle. So basically a console. And yes, this is the purpose of Bazzite, making your PC into a gaming console. So you can start playing games without any hassle. And if you have an old PC and have an AMD GPU, then by all means, turn it into a gaming console because this OS is just that good in performance.